Hi everyone, welcome to Admin Tips Part 2. I was going to spend some time talking about the state of the game right now, but I think we'll get into that in the Get Players on Your Server Now Part 2 video. This video is, first, but before we get started really quickly, I've received tons of positive feedback from this series, more so than any of my other series on YouTube, both in private message and in comments on the videos. So I wanted to say thank you very much for all that. I've also noticed as I do scour Reddit and Steam quite a bit that some people have changed their advertising styles a little. People that haven't sent me a comment or made a note, but I can see that they've watched it. That's a big compliment for me, including someone that literally copy pasted my entire, pretty much my mod list, my concept, my rates, and my ad. And I found a little correction the individual should have made. I messaged him on Reddit for that, and it was a proud moment for me to see someone just not getting right into it and taking something that they believe worked and used it, and it was really fantastic. So thanks a lot to all you admins and owners out there, and for quite a few brand new server owners that said, hey, there's just nothing out there like this. And I didn't use everything, but there's a few things in there I did find effective, so much appreciated. Obviously you're not going to necessarily use everything. Servers have a personal touch to them. What makes people attracted to you and why they want to play on your server. One thing we can't forget is, yeah, they're coming to play Ark, but they're also there because you're the owner and they like what you do or they like your concept. And that's why they're going to stick around. You can play Ark anywhere. The reason they're playing with you is because of you, right? And your setup and your concept and your rules. Now, today's topic in Admin Videos Part 2 is going to revolve around managing larger player counts and larger pop servers, and how to handle, how to be prepared for when you do have a lot of players in your server, which is a tough go these days. Arc PC is not in its best position as far as player counts go. There will be some growth when the DLC comes out and even a few weeks before it. What I have noticed, though, is there's still people looking to move from single player onto multiplayer. There's still people that are looking to switch up. So there's still players out there. We're going to get into that in Promote Your Server, Get Players Now Part 2. But for today, we're doing Admin Tips Part 2. And the main topic is going to be managing large servers. A lot of this revolves around PvP, but you can apply the same rules to PvE. It's just PvP's been the one I've made the most mistakes with and had the most struggles when it comes to larger pops, and consumed the most of my time and led to the most backlash. So when there's a lot of failures and when I make a lot of mistakes is generally when I learn the most, and that's where I get my maximum personal growth comes from when I screw up. And my biggest screw ups have been in large pop PvP servers. And a lot of that comes from, obviously, when I say my biggest screw ups, I mean it's always my fault. Of course, I'm in charge, right? Who else are you gonna blame? Yes, there's dicks and stuff, but they're not gonna cause the kind of catastrophes that I've had on my large pop PvP servers. The first big time episode I had was the result of not having clear set rules. You can actually see a video that these people made because they're upset about that. The set of rules in PvP are of critical importance. I would not allow anyone to join my PvP server anymore unless they read the rules and understood them. If they haven't, they can't stay. When it comes to rules, you want to try and think of every contingency in advance. You may need to make a few adjustments as it progresses, but you want to keep that to the minimum as possible. You don't want to give the impression that you're making up new rules or changing rules as a result of someone's behavior. Some people just don't take that very well. So, when you have a long list of rules that makes things very clear for people, it's something I never enjoyed at all. My huge mistake was trying to sell the concept idea, like, look, it's PvP, but don't attack the defenseless, and trying to communicate that verbally with tribe leaders, and that was a terrible idea. Tribes get big, tribe leaders maybe aren't in as control of their individual players, so me following the tradition that you might find in the military where there's strict discipline of, well, I talked to your sergeant and he's going to account for all these privates below him. It's just not the case. they won't account for it, and they'll say things to you like, well, I wasn't there, I didn't know, or yeah, he's a bit of a jerk, I'm sorry. In the meantime, you have people leaving, so make those rules very, very clear, and put those rules on everybody equally. PvP and donations can get a little bit shifty when it comes to that. I have someone who still trolls me on Reddit who likes to say that I treated donators differently. I wouldn't say treated differently, but when donators quit because of your behavior, and I talked to you about it in a polite and courteous way, which I never did speak to that individual. I spoke to his tribe leader. It's a little effective, right? Someone says, well, I want to do the whole playthrough, so I'm going to help pay for it. Here's $50 for me and my buddy. We're here to stay, and we're going to do the playthrough of this thing. And then they get wiped out everywhere they go. And then they quit. And you feel bad because you took someone's money, And the problem was the problem wasn't the individual who wiped them out. People will do that no matter what they say to you. The problem was I didn't have rules clearly written down about it. And that had a very negative effect on my server at the time. The only reason my community survived it is because these people ended up having like a rebellion and attacking a bunch of unarmed, undefended bases, and they made a video of it, and my community got to see it. If not, it would have caused a lot of damage to the community. And the mistake was mine right off the start because I had a PvP server without clear, easy to understand rules. Now, enforcement is another tricky part. Unfortunately, you can have all the rules you want. Enforcing them can be a bit of a headache. So one of the things you're going to want to make sure that is in your rules that everybody understands is they need screenshots and they need video, one or the other, of the people that are breaking the rules. And without it, there's not going to be a lot you can do. It doesn't mean you should be sitting on your hands. I don't know if I've mentioned this before in any videos, but I had a boss that once told me, and he was very wealthy, intelligent boss who built an empire out of nothing. And he had said to me, Biggs, if someone reports something to you, go check it out yourself. Don't take any action until you check it out. Now, he didn't say ignore it, just said check it out. You have to, if you keep getting reports that someone's being a dick and trying to mess things up, but there's no evidence of it, you got to start spectating yourself. You got to still look into it. Try and get the screenshot yourself. I'm not going to be providing the evidence to the person who did the infraction. That's just me. But I would not want to ban someone after months of hard work without some kind of evidence. So make sure you have, if you're going to have a large pop, whether it's PvP or PvE, make sure you have a very clear set of rules that's easy to understand. Make sure everybody reads those rules in advance. And make sure you have a disclaimer for harassment. It's really important, especially if you're attracting players of all different ages, of all different genders and sexual orientations, that you have a clear disclaimer rule in its priority, explaining to people that you're not liable, and if they feel harassed, they have to report it to you and leave. And if they feel something illegal has been done, to report it to the police, then you and leave. The onus is on them to leave your Discord or leave the server if they feel harassed. You have to make that clear. In my case, I still own a corporation from businesses I used to have. I don't really want to put all that money at risk for my hobby, right? And if you own your home, you have to really keep in mind that although it hasn't happened yet that I'm aware of, times they are changing, and you don't want to be held responsible for someone else's pain and suffering. So make sure you have disclaimers in your rules as far as harassment goes. As far as enforcement goes, get screenshots, get videos. If you're running a bunch of servers and you're running donations, spend the $10 a month or find a free program that allows you to monitor the chat and have the chat recorded when you're not in game. I had 4 servers at 4 maps at one point. I only have 2 PCs at home. I can't be logged into all 4 maps at the same time. For me, I used Battlemetrics Archon, and I can actually watch the chat, watch who's joining, access people's profiles. I'll know when someone's new. I know when someone has a VAC ban from either my phone or any PC. I can watch as many servers as I like. So that's a very effective tool for you, and it's definitely a great way to watch the chat. So make sure that in advance of you trying to grow your pop huge, that you have all the rules in place and the other defense mechanisms needed to keep the community the way you want it. We have to be careful when you're talking about international servers and international age groups. You have quite a different mix of people in your server. Not all of them are going to get along, and you're not going to be able to force them to get along. If you get involved in every little thing, it's not only going to tie you down, but you're going to make more enemies. Unless the person's broken a rule, try and stay out of it. Don't share your opinions. I know that's hard. You're going to gossip. That's bad. That's been bad at my business that I used to own. It's been bad at places I used to manage. You just want to take a neutral stance and just, stay out of it unless there's rules that have been broken, unless someone's done something wrong to somebody. And that's critically important. Don't don't become friends. Sounds terrible, but don't become friends with them. You play with your own friends, the people you trust, but don't start 4-hour conversations and long chats with individual players. It's never going to work out. It's the same reason I've never been friends with my staff. It's not a smart maneuver. Go to a Christmas party once in a while, you chat a little bit here and there. I'll definitely take the time to sit down with donators and talk to them for a bit and so on and so forth. But in general, I don't spend too much time chatting with any of the players. And I know that sounds cold, but if you want to have a big, long-term, successful community, you got to think of yourself in a little ways like you're the boss, you're the manager, and you're there to make sure that the whole group functions correctly. And becoming friends with individual players and then not friends with others and liking and disliking is only going to cause you problems. Keep a neutral, outside the box sort of perspective. Conflict's inevitable, especially on PvP servers, especially with big groups of people, regardless of your rules and enforcement. You're going to want to once again take a very neutral stance to that conflict and try not to be rude when dealing with people that totally break the rules. Unfortunately, if you're running a PvP server, odds are you're going to have to ban someone eventually. You're going to have to ban people on PvE servers as well. That's going to cause a little bit of kickback on Reddit and Steam possibly. Some people are relentless in their efforts for whatever reasons. And that's just going to be a part of it. Try and deal with it with thick skin. I can tell you some of the mistakes I've made is spend too many hours debating people and trying to explain my side. It's a waste of time. In not all cases, but in many cases when someone feels they're right, it doesn't matter what you say to them. You're wrong. They're right. That's it. That's all. And I spent hours writing on Reddit, responding to people that aren't happy, and I got nowhere at the end of the day. So try not to waste too much of your time on conflict. It's just going to happen. That brings us to the trolls. I'm going to bring up 3 specific trolls that I've had. And what was funny is all 3 of these trolls said the same thing to me. The troll likes to say this is their reasoning behind it. I like to get people aggroed. I like to troll people. I like to get people mad to see their reaction. That's how I learn about them. That was something that was said on Reddit to one of my followers and one of my biggest fans who shares some of my stuff. It was someone said to me in a live video. And it was also someone that, a third individual who joined my server and said I was just a big experiment for them. So you're going to get these people that for whatever reason, I'll never understand I do understand their motivation. It's self-esteem, lack of love, but they just want to come out there and hurt you. And they have all their weird reasons for justifying it. But it comes down to just poor self-esteem. And the reason I'm mentioning that is you're going to get them. The bigger you get, mo players, mo problems, you're going to deal with some trolls. And, you just need to get them out as soon as possible. Try not to feed them. I go into it with them. I'm not going to lie to you. I like to try and burn them on a personal thing and put them down and make them feel like crap. But that's a mistake. So yeah, make sure your players know how to take screenshots, and if they have NVIDIA, they know how to use Shadowplay. Shadowplay, it's an amazing program. It comes with any NVIDIA card, essentially, and it's incredible in that it doesn't really cause any slowdowns on your PC or FPS issues. It just records. So let them know. You're going to want to expect losses. And again, most of this topic's been PvP, right? but it still happens in PvE, which we're going to get into for the last 2-3 minutes of the video coming up here in a second. But you're going to lose players now and then. You lose players for lots of reasons. You can have players absolutely hate the decisions you made. The more players you have, the more rules you have, and the more fights and battles that go on in the server, the more decisions that the owner, manager, admin's going to have to make. And whenever you have to make those decisions, there's going to be one or two sides that loses depending on your view. In my view, there's 2 out of 3 sides that lose. So you have the person that complains about the issue, you have the person defending themselves, and you have you. So you decide to side with the person defending themselves, or the one that complained loses because they're not happy with your decision, and you lose because someone now dislikes you and can cause issues beyond just saying, well, I guess whatever, we'll just continue and play on, right? Some people will do that and many won't. They'll harbor resentment. And that's going to be an issue that you're going to have to deal with. I have not personally found a way to mitigate all these issues. I presume there's people that have, because I know there's big PvP servers out there, and I'm not one of the guys that found the perfect solution for it. What I do know is the main mistakes I made in summation are not having clear sets of rules. Trying to present a concept verbally to people was a huge mistake. Not having my servers set up in a way that made it so they wouldn't get lagged out or screwed up because the population got too big. I had too much confidence in my server provider that it could handle the mods, it could handle the big builds, it could handle all the dinos, and it could handle people that are purposely trying to mess up the server because of some beef from 4 months ago. I underestimated the determination someone would have to try and ruin stuff because I just thought people liked me. It's where ego is a problem. So these are all issues that I suffered, and the only way I know to mitigate them would be to have a lot of rules, stay absolutely neutral, don't get too personal with the players. These are all things I used in business. I don't know why I thought they wouldn't work, why I didn't need them on the server, but I did. And that's why these huge corporations with thousands of employees have so many rules. That's why they generally discourage their managers from hanging out with the staff. Because they know when you get a big diverse group of people, there has to be strict guidelines. And my mistakes were not having those guidelines. Alright, let's talk about Big Pop on PvE real quick, and I'll probably wrap this up. I'm hoping to be done in 2 minutes here. PvE servers, Big Pop, your problems are going to revolve more around builds and dino taming. On PvE is a different game. People build big, people like to build extravagant. It's not something you can do in PvP, you'll get wrecked. Dinos in PvP tend to get wiped out now and again, and you can do wipes in PvP now and again. People will be happy to start over if your rates are high. But in PvE, it's not that kind of game. PvE, people spend hours and hours building, hours and hours taming and breeding, and that's what's going to be important to that game. Killing bosses in caves just isn't the only reason people are there. So that being said, you need to make sure that, unlike my mistake, which was having a lot of confidence in my server's capabilities and a lot of confidence in players to respect the other players and respect the idea of community, was a mistake. At the end of the day, there were too many dinos, there were too many buildings, and there was one particular player that was doing everything he could to lag and cause restarts and problems in the server. And that was because of my initial settings. I bought the best servers money could buy. I ran them on some of the best hardware, and I thought they could just handle it, and the bottom line is they can't. Arc is not optimized correctly. It never will be. When you push the limits of what the Arc server is capable of, and you start to break those, dino limits and tribe limits and all these things, you're going to run into problems. So if you're hitting Big Pop or planning Big Pop, and you've got 3 months off work to promote your server, and that's all you're going to be doing, and you need to make sure that your settings are preset in a way that you're a little closer to vanilla on the build, on the raft size, and you need a decent dino tame limit. They don't have this stuff on official for nothing. Okay, you need to take a serious look at that. I didn't, and server got a little bit laggy, but nothing serious. But then to compound it, certain individuals were out to shut it down, to ruin it for everybody. And when you add that sort of stuff in, you run into a lot of trouble. So that's it for today, guys. We'll have some new videos coming up. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. You know the drill there. I'm not going to burden you with the bell and how all that stuff works. Have a good one.